I'll go with the computer audio, so we're all set. Okay.
Hey, you sound good.
All right, guys. Thank you.
I think this is the best we've heard you. This is great, Jim. Good.
I see Dan there. Hi, Dan.
Dan's ready to go to sleep.
All right, we're good. Thanks, everybody.
Yep.
And we are live and recording, so whenever you'd like to start, Chair.
Thanks, Amanda.
I will now call the Finance and Personnel Committee meeting to order. Today's date is February 3rd, 2021. The time is 7:16 p.m. Our meeting is happening via remote conferencing software, Zoom. Members of the public can still join in electronically if they so choose. So we'll start with roll call. So older Jim Olson.
Here.
Older Diane Wolf.
Here.
Dan Stevens, myself. I am also here. Also for the record, we have Finance Director Fred Bueller, City Attorney Amanda Jackson, City Clerk Joanne Marcon. Her honor, the Mayor Kim Smith, City Administrator Eric Reinflesh, Dan Wick, Parks and Rec, Jared Holter, City Engineer, Amy Hewitt from Human Resources, Tom Smith, Alder joins us, Chief Charles Ashbeck, and I don't know who the Christmas tree is. That is Carrie Burmaster, Alder from District 3.
Oh, that's pretty.
Item 2 is approval of minutes from the previous meeting.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Olson, second by Wolf to approve the minutes. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye.
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 Aye. Minutes are approved. Item 3 is public input. Public input will be limited to 3 minutes. If anybody wishes to address this committee, please raise your hand or find a way to signal us that you want to speak. Second call for public input. Anyone? Anyone?
Bueller.
Third and final call for public input. Hearing nobody wanting to address the committee, I will declare a public input now closed. Under Finance, consideration and possible action on the following items. Item 4, City of Onalaska 2021 capital projects, general obligation corporate purpose bonds, and state trust fund loan. Item A, Resolution 2-2021, initial resolution authorizing 150,000 general obligation bonds for sanitary sewer projects. Fred, care to comment? Or do we just want to take these all and then?
What we got Brad Vagood with us tonight, who can answer any questions that you may have or give a summary of what these are all taking our 2021 projects and breaking them down into the proper categories to do the initial resolutions, preparing ourselves to go into the bond market at a future date. But if you have any questions or Brad wants to add anything, feel free, Brad.
Yeah, well, I would just add one thing, and that's your resolution letter G is taking all of these individual initial resolutions and compiling everything into one bond issue. So you're doing one large bond for $3.51 million. And then regarding the state trust fund loan that was referenced on the agenda, there are 3 items that are ineligible for bonding that's in your capital plan. And those items are eligible for financing through note issuance. So we looked for the lowest cost alternative, and going to the state for a state trust fund loan is less costly than if we were to say issue a note issue for these 3 projects. So that's consistent really with the approach we've taken for the past several years. It's been a similar set of circumstance where we'll do a short state trust fund loan and a longer term bond issue.
Okay, so just so we're clear, item G is the aggregate total of items A through F. It's going to be one bond, and items A through F are just kind of the general ledger amounts that would be allotted towards each category.
Item F is a direction to publish the notice of these resolutions, but A through E really assigns the dollar amount for each broad set of projects.
Okay, thank you. So I guess we can just go down these one by one. Is that maybe See any reason why not?
So I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2-2021 per the printed agenda.
Second.
Motion by Wolf, seconded by Olson for resolution 2-2021. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of approving it, please say aye.
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 Item passes. Item B, resolution 3-2021, initial resolution authorizing 485,000 general obligation bonds for storm sewer projects. What is the pleasure of the committee?
Motion to approve resolution 3-2021 per the printed agenda this evening.
Second.
Motion by Wolf, seconded by Olson to approve resolution 3-2021. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? I didn't hear you, Diane. Were you voting?
I was an aye.
Item unanimously passes. Item C, resolution 4-2021, initial resolution authorizing $30,000 general obligation bonds for parks and public ground projects. What is the will of the committee?
Second.
Was there a
So I will
motion?
make a motion to approve resolution 4-2021.
Thanks, Diane. Second.
So the second, Jim's second came first, but so we'll say motion by Wolf, seconded by Olson to approve resolution 4-2021. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving that resolution 4-2021, please say aye.
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 Resolution passes. Item D, resolution 5-2021, initial resolution authorizing 2,435,000 general obligation bonds for street improvement projects. What is the will of the committee?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Olson, seconded by Wolf to approve resolution 5-2021. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Resolution 5-2021 passes. Item E, resolution 6-2021, initial resolution authorizing $410,000 of general obligation bonds for water system projects. What is the will of the committee?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Olson, seconded by Wolf to approve resolution 6-2021. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of approving resolution 6-2021, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. You guys beat me to it. Resolution 6-2021 passes. Item F, resolution 7-2021, directing publication of notice to the electors relating to the bond issues. Those would be the bond issues, items A through E.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Olson, seconded by Wolf to approve resolution 7-2021. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Item passes unanimously. Item G, resolution 8-2021, providing for the sale of 3,510,000 general obligation corporate purpose bonds.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Olson, seconded by Wolf to approve resolution 8-2021. Any discussion? Brad, we got everything covered there? Nothing to
Yes.
add?
No,
Right.
no, nothing to add.
All those in favor of resolution 8-2021, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously. Item H is financing plan for the 2021 capital improvement projects.
Fred, would you like me to take that?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, please.
Included in your packets is a presentation that I put together that really pulls all of these resolutions together and gives the committee a firm understanding of the plan that's been developed and how it fits into the overall debt profile of the city I'll spend just a minute to walk through this and answer any questions. There's a summary page that identifies the two financings. So the state trust fund loan is shown on the left-hand side of that page. That state trust fund loan for the three projects identified is going to be in the size of $253,388. And it's scheduled to mature over a 5-year period. So the final payment would be in March of 2026. The current rate for that loan is 2.5%. And again, the only reason we've carved out these projects from the larger bond issue is that these capital projects, the fiber optic cable, the police vehicles and portable radios are not eligible for bonding under Wisconsin statutes. And then on the right-hand side, there's a summary of the corporate purpose bonds. And this ties back to the resolutions you just adopted. $3,510,000. This is funding all of your 2021 capital projects except those funded by the state trust fund loan. So this is scheduled to be repaid over a 20-year period. And the estimated interest rate is below 1.5%. So we remain in a very favorable interest rate environment to borrow at less than 1.5% over a 20-year period. On the following page, I've just outlined a timetable. With the committee's authorization tonight, the initial resolutions are forwarded to council for action on February 9th. Baird and city staff will continue to make preparations for the issuance, prepare the offering documents, secure a bond rating, we'll market the bonds out to underwriters nationwide. And then I'll be attending or virtually at the March 9th meeting. And at that meeting, the award resolution will be on the agenda. And that's the resolution that will finalize the interest rates and the terms of the corporate purpose bonds. So the rate I'm showing now, that 1.49, that's an estimate based on current market. The final, the action on March 9th will finalize that rate.
Okay.
And then the following page, the last page, just takes all of these numbers and puts it on paper. The Boxton area shows the anticipated repayment schedule for the state trust fund loan, the corporate purpose bonds. The offsetting revenue just reflects any debt service that is paid by funds other than levy dollars. So that would be sewer, water, and stormwater. And so the entire Boxton area represents the financing package for this year. Outside on the left-hand side of the box is levy-supported debt payments that have already been committed to. And so then on the far right-hand side, I take those existing debt payments, add in the new debt that's levy-supported to give you an idea of what your debt levy would look like moving forward. So this year, for example, you budgeted just over $3.85 million. That would increase next year to approximately $4,033,000, $4,034,000 with this debt issuance. So I'll just pause there. That's the summary we've put together. If there's any questions or if anyone would like more detail, I'd be glad to answer, to go into more detail or answer questions.
I have a question for you, Brad. So on the general obligation corporate purpose bonds, we have an estimate on the rate of 1.49, and I realize the market can change in, I guess, the 6 days before we get there. But typically, how much variance would you expect, or is that like it could be lower, it could be higher, but typically how much?
I mean, if it's more than 0.25% higher, I'd be surprised. If this came in at 175, I'd be surprised. In the trend we've seen really since beginning of the year is rates have been dropping pretty significantly. Let's see, to give this a little more context, I just last week did an issue with Monroe County, and they, for their nursing home facility, they're a AA-, so they're one rating below on Alaska, and their issue is non-bank qualified. So typically non-bank qualified debt has slightly higher rates than bank qualified, which yours is. Their rate was 1.51% for a 20-year issuance that's non-bank qualified. So I'm pretty confident. Now, we do have a month next, the action at the meeting next week is just preliminary in nature. It's these initial resolutions. So it is March 9th before everything is finalized. But the market sure seems solid. I mean, and even if rates, just to wrap up my thoughts, even if rates increase a little bit, we're still in a historically low environment. So.
I'd let you refinance my house at 1.75%, so. All right. Any other questions for Brad?
Thank you all, as always, Brad. Always nice to see you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I think it'd be a good idea to accept the financing plan and place on file.
All right, do we have such a motion?
I move that we go ahead and accept the financing plan as presented this evening and per our packet and place it on file.
Second.
Motion by Wolf, seconded by Olson to approve and place on file the financing plan for the 2021 capital improvement projects. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks again.
Item
Thank
5,
you.
the City of Onalaska financials. This sounds like it's a Fred thing.
Okay, before I start, and so we don't lose anybody, because we got a lot of items on the agenda, is at the bottom of each page is the page number that I'll refer to. So it's a bottom center of the bottom of page for each document from here all the way to the end.
Thank you,
Ignore
Fred.
the ones that are on the right side.
Yep.
So with that said, this is what I call a preliminary draft, fairly close. There's a few things still coming in from revenue standpoint, but overall, the revenues stand at $9,944,000, which is approximately $239,303 less than budget. Pretty much what we had talked about back in June and July is where it ended up. The biggest contributors in that shortfall in revenues was your interest income, which was down 125,000. And we all know what happened in the park and rec and pool of what that revenues were down, as well as the expenditure side. So if I recall, Dan, actually by the revenues being shut down in the park and rec, it actually was a positive thing because of the expenses were higher than the revenues we were receiving.
Yeah.
With that said, I don't have a whole lot. The one thing that was unexpected that happened at the close of 2020 was on the bottom of page 17. We did not anticipate a $30-some thousand interest dividend that the city received. We budgeted $8,600 and we actually received $32,663 more than anticipated.
That's the insurance dividend, not the interest dividend.
That's the insurance dividend. Other than that, on the revenue side, I didn't have anything unless you have something to ask that you wanted answered.
You touched on the decreased income coming in from interest accounts. Is that Brad has kind of made it sound like rates are still going down? Is that affected any of our holdings, or is that leveled, or is that
Well,
going to get worse
Keep in mind what the rate Brad was talking about is interest
on bonds?
on bonds, where this is interest income. The interest income rate has been pretty much sitting at that 0.15%. It hasn't really edged up in any direction, very similar to where the interest rate to borrow has not edged up or down very much.
So not great, but not getting worse. But
Right. Can't get much worse.
Oh, it always can.
and had negative interest rates for a while, I thought, but
Yeah. So moving into the expenditures, like I say, the reason I wanted to kind of go through this first before we get into the later part of the agenda, so you can see how
Yep.
things fell prior to any adjustments being made to put it in GASB and GAAP compliance. I don't have a whole lot to add. I think Jared is on the phone. For example, on page, I'll get back here to page number 26. That's what caused a couple of corrections to be made, is I thought Jared saved a fair amount of money on snow and salt, and when I found out he had a bill that ate up all of the funds that he had. So then when I tried to move some money to balance his fund, I really didn't have the money because he had a bill that I needed to pay. So that's why we have a correction in a resolution as well as a modification being made later tonight.
Yes, we never, we ordered salt at the end of December and did not receive the bill. We had to actually call for the invoice, so it didn't make it onto the financial you see that Fred had run.
One thing that I wanted to mention is if you go to page 17, something that we have been able to give to you that we have not been able to in the past is with the TIP software, we're able to break down in different areas of parking tickets, which is about approximately 2 inches down from the top. We budgeted 62,000. We took in 49,631.90. That equated to approximately 2,435 tickets. Of that 2,435, 1,351 tickets were related to alternate side parking. 868 tickets were related to alternate side parking restrictions. And we can break it down into many different other areas, which I thought was quite interesting that we would not have been able to do before. And another statistic that I thought was interesting is, well, those are the two highest ones. But anyway, other than that, back to expenses, I don't have anything unless you have something you want to ask of me.
I just had a couple quick questions. On page 20, under city clerk, I'm assuming what was the biggest driver was the elections.
That's correct.
Okay. Yeah, and also under elections, the very next block, once again, was about elections. Let's see. And then on page 23, it's about in the middle of the page. What is SIR?
Self-insured retention. So what we have is when the city is self-insured for the first 17,500.
Yep.
And so we risk ourselves. We always budget and hope that, which we've been pretty fortunate, we either end up using all the SIR or very little of it. So this year you can see that we had to use for $2,720 more than anticipated. So overall, on the expenditure side, then we had an overall budget of $10,183,948 was the budget. And the actual budget at this point was $9,303,169, which is approximately $880,000 less than budget. So when you take into account the $880,000 under budget compared to the 200 and some thousand shortage in revenues, you have an overall of about a 641,000 surplus in the general fund.
All right, are there any questions for Fred under item 5A? What is the will of the committee?
Motion to accept the City of Onalaska financials, General Fund 2020 as presented this evening.
Second.
Motion by Wolf, seconded by Olson to accept the general fund financials for 2020. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 General fund financials are accepted. Item 5B, authorization to approve transfer of funds within each department to comply with Government Accounting Standards Board, GASB, or Generally Accepted Accounting Principles, GAAP, for standards of 2020.
Okay, so looking on page 32, you'll see on the right, you'll see interfund transfer is the area that we are now talking about as relates to B. The outside two columns, the transfer in or out, refer to the resolution, the next item on the agenda. So if you focus on the interfund, what this does is if a fund is within a $500 overage or more or less, then we consider that to pass. If it needs assistance within itself, then you can see me doing a plus and minus within each department. So in other words, a department may have spent more. For an example, on this first one, they spent more in subscriptions and dues and less in transcription. So we transferred $700 from one to another. So, and that's done individually within each department. And then if we still need some additional help, that is when we get into the next item on the agenda. So anybody have any questions on as it relates to transfers within each department?
I just have a comment, Chair.
Alder Wolf?
For me personally, I found this extremely difficult to read between the sheer size of the font, but I think more so, I don't know if anyone else's copies, but it just seems to be a little bit blurry, or it's just not real clear. And so I honestly, I just was not able to read this. So that's just my input. I wasn't able to read this handout.
Well, I just reminded me of another item that came back to haunt us a little bit, but overall it would have still happened is when the city had 27 pay periods, you'll see that all of the salary accounts probably needed some assistance throughout because of the fact that we had the 20, as you may or may not know, January 1st was the payday and January 1st is a holiday and dollars don't transfer on holidays. So the city needed to do the payroll December 31st, which was Friday. And so the 27th payroll ended up being in 2020's business rather than being the first payroll in 2021. Now, either way, it would have probably been transferred one way or another through accrued payroll, but I just wanted to point that out that almost all the salary accounts needed assistance or transfers.
Would it stand to reason that, and this year then there will be 25 payroll periods?
No, there's 26 and 20. There'll be
We
26.
had 27 last time then, or is there, it's in the way the calendar falls, it's an extra pay period.
Right. It's the way the calendar falls. Falls this way every 5 years.
So Fred, as a follow-up, so can I assume what you just presented, the F5B, those figures are now going to be translated and transferred into the next resolution number 11-2021, correct?
No.
No?
5B is just transferring within itself where they didn't need additional help outside. In other words, if Jared needed additional dollars that he could not handle within his own department, then he has to go outside for assistance into another department. And that is
okay.
what the resolution is.
Okay, thank you.
Now, what will happen is what I can do to make it easier for everybody is at the I can submit with the council. I can very easily do this as a journal entry, and then you would actually see it all modified. But it's strictly is all we're doing is putting the accounts within an acceptable means in reference to the accounting practices.
All right, committee, what do we want to do? Or are there any other questions for Fred?
Nothing for me.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve the transfer of funds within each department to comply with GASB and GAAP standards.
Second.
Motion by me, seconded by Olson. Was there any discussion? All those in favor of item 5B as per the agenda, please say aye.
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 And I will abstain.
And, okay, so we have 2 ayes, so it passes. Alder Wolf abstains. Item 6, Resolution 11-2021 to transfer to from various departments in the 2020 general fund budget. Fred, you kind of alluded to this before, but please explicate.
Okay, each one of you should have received a revised resolution 11-2021. In the revised resolution, the top portion of the resolution refers to funds that of which were unspent. That was within police and fire. We had some accounts that had unspent dollars. The accounts listed, therefore be it further resolved in that area, those are departmental accounts that needed additional assistance from another location. And we can just briefly slide through them. I think most of them are pretty much self-explanatory. The unemployment compensation is probably the largest one of $24,200. The next one, I believe, was sand and salt needed additional assistance because of the fact that we did have some that Jared had talked about in reference to the salt and the health insurance. I think what we had there is somebody who during the course of the year went from a single status to a married status. And that's about it. The salary in the city clerk's office needed additional assistance as well.
Fred, under the salt and sand, we did have enough money to cover that in the street department budget, but it would have been in multiple line items. So this made it easier for Fred to do it this way than taking a little bit out of a bunch of different line items in the street department. So we still stayed within what we had. It just was easier to do it this way.
One of the items that I wanted to mention to you too, that is somewhat in the financials that we didn't discuss tonight, but I thought I'd better bring it up because it is material that we had roughly, I think, we had like 4 people that retired. When we have individuals that retired, we have half of the sick leave is paid out front through payroll. The other half is paid to them. In other words, is whatever their health and dental insurance is monthly, that is paid to them monthly until there's the dollars that they had left of sick leave or the second half. Now, I just wanted to point out is from an accounting standpoint, is individuals that had left that still had dollars left in reference to benefits to pay them. I set up an accounts payable, so those expenditures are all recognized in the various departments of the individuals. In other words, the city clerk's location, the inspections location, all of those health insurance, if they had dollars, were allocated through an accounts payable so that the cost of paying them next year of whatever they have left would have already been recognized and expensed in a year in which it happened. And that is one of the things I just wanted to mention out. Other than that, go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 11-2021.
Second.
Motion by Wolf, seconded by Olson to approve resolution 11-2021. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving resolution 11-2021, please say aye.
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 Resolution passes. Item 7, the designated fund balance or DSFB general fund and or special revenue funds for 2020. Item A, adjust existing DSFB for 2020. Fred?
Okay, this was on your agenda and originally was nothing happening, but I believe Police Chief Chuck Ashbeck on here. Oh, yes. Chuck, you want to kind of briefly explain the revised document that the department or council members received?
Sure, thank you. Essentially, there were some undesignated funds that were received through the sale of city property. So I asked Fred if we could designate those for a variety of projects that I have planned this year. So That's really it in a nutshell.
Yeah, we had a balance last year of 25,704 in a restricted designated fund balance in Fund 207, which is equipment replacement. Chief Ashbeck is asking to add $13,235 to it, which is the sale of some of his vehicles this past year and restricted. So now he will have a fund balance 12/31 of 38,939. If you authorize it.
Well,
So
I don't know.
I-
What are the special projects that you're thinking about doing, Chief?
There's a variety of them. One thing that I'm looking at is seeing if we can continue our project with the portable radios. If we can accomplish the majority of that to reduce our capital projects, for 2022. There are some thoughts about some spare body cameras that we could have on hand in case any of our current ones malfunction. Thinking about some speed message boards or a speed trailer. So there's just a variety of projects that would be nice to accomplish, but given that we have this money from the sale of goods or sale of property.
Sure. You're just looking for the flexibility to do things over the year as they pop up.
That's correct.
All right,
I move
committee.
I move that we approve item 7A to adjust the existing designated fund balance as presented by Fred.
Is there a second?
Second. Sorry.
Motion by Wolf, seconded by Olson.
Fred, do you need more information than that as far as
No,
of a
no.
motion? Okay,
We're good.
I mean, because you laid out the amounts and everything.
Yep.
Okay. Dan, did you freeze?
Hearing none, all those in favor, please
You
say
did
aye.
freeze. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oh, my connection's becoming unstable. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, you
Yes.
froze, but yeah, we heard the very end of your going for a motion.
All right, so item B is to establish new DSFB for 2020.
There is nothing to report.
So do we need to take action on this?
Nope.
All right, no action. So we will move on to item 8, resolution 12-2021 to transfer from the 2020 general fund budget to the special revenue fund special projects.
I can say probably around 10, 12 years ago, the council, if all possible, because of the decreasing funding of the program for Dare Great, that the city has theoretically transferred $3,500 to assist the program. And maybe Chuck can add more, but that's what this resolution would allow to happen.
I would just add that we greatly appreciate that donation. Just recently, we ordered, I think, close to $2,500 in supplies for DARE classes that have begun this year for Officer Myers. So the funds are certainly needed and used.
I move to approve resolution 12-2021 in the amount of $3,500 per the printed agenda.
Second.
Motion by Wolf, seconded by Olson to approve resolution 12-2021 for $3,500. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Resolution 12-21 has passed. Item 9, resolution 13-2021 to transfer from the 2020 general obligation or general fund budget to the special fund. To transfer from the 2020 general fund budget to the Special Revenue Fund Equipment Replacement Fund.
Okay, this resolution, as we had stated earlier tonight, by transferring 435,000 of the 600 and some thousand of dollars of surplus within the general fund, it does two things. Number one, approximately 260 some thousand will go into the general fund undesignated fund balance. And by transferring $435,000 into the equipment replacement fund, what it does, and if you look at the history for the city, which has been a very positive thing, the city then in 2022, when it comes to tax levies and projects that the city would like to do in the equipment replacement fund, we're able to use our fund balance within the equipment replacement fund and therefore not have to levy. So this puts the city of Onalaska in a very good position financially. It's putting some dollars into our fund balance within a general fund, which I'm sure Moody would be happy with. And it also puts dollars within the equipment replacement fund so that we don't need to levy to the taxpayers and be able to use some of our undesignated fund balance for the year of 2021 and beyond.
Fred, I'm being distracted by a puppy. Puppy picture.
Ah, that's cute.
See, Dan, you aren't the only one with a cute puppy, and Mayor Kim too.
Yeah, but mine is the floofiest.
Do I need to start over?
No, I was a little distracted though, but I was listening. Oh.
All right, well, what say you, committee? I'm entertaining motions.
I just want to make sure I don't step over Jim. So that's why I'm glad that he's on camera so then I can kind of. So I will make a motion to approve resolution 13-2021 as presented.
Second.
Motion by Wolf, seconded by Olson for resolution 13-2021 to transfer, looks like 435,000 from the general fund budget to the special revenue fund equipment replacement fund. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Passes. We're on to item 10, the 2020 Omni Center financials.
Okay,
Mr.
starting
Wick
on,
with us. Oh, Fred,
Oh.
sorry.
I'll start and then Dan can jump in. Starting on page 46. Is one of the things about approximately 2 inches down from the first page is we received, what was it, Dan, around $84,000 for that entertainment grant.
It was just over $80,000, Fred.
And that is why the receivable, and the reason it's a receivable because the dollars we did not receive until like January 4th or 5th, but since it is last year's grant, it was recognized as a receivable and also an income within the Omni Center.
Fred, I'm sorry if I can interrupt. What you said it's on page 46?
Yeah, it's around 2 inches down. It says where it says $102,816.
Okay, I was looking for an 80,000 figure.
The rest is the normal receivable that they have each month. So then if you go to page 47, you will see that they have revenues of 454,000, expenses of 572, and they're approximately 118,000 deficit. Now, a couple of things that need to happen yet, and obviously will, is number one, we have the whole fourth quarter of for example, of room tax that needs to still come in to the Omni Center. They're 1%. Granted, it may not be too high, but it'd probably be in the area of about 15,000. We still got the dollars coming in from the special projects fund that we anticipated giving to the Omni Center. So when it all settles in, and I'll have a lot better picture here before the council meeting as we get into the future resolution item on the agenda, number 11, is I'll have a pretty good idea, and I'm guessing it's going to be in that area of about 70,000 in that vicinity of or less of dollars deficit for the Omni Center. And so the intent is then, is as we get into the number item on the agenda, number 11, is any shortfall within the Omni Center, we would use some of the dollars that are restricted within Special Projects Fund, which is the Special Revenue Fund for Special Projects that we had restricted of dollars that we've been allocating all these periods of years to assist the Omni. Then they would also then be transferred to make the Omni Center budget neutral. So back to the financials, I didn't have anything unless Dan wanted to add anything in reference to the revenues or expenditures.
I don't have anything. I'd just hear if anybody has any questions.
So Fred, I want to make sure what's happening here. We want to essentially authorize the funds for whatever the amount of the transfer is going to be. And those funds will come from the Special Projects Restricted Fund. And then when we know what the real numbers are after we accommodate for room tax and other things, then next week, then we'll authorize a set number. Is that what we're?
Yep, and that'll be on resolution number 14. Now, what's happening is you got to keep in mind, there's such a lag of time that the room tax for the month of December is not due until the end of January, of which by the time it gets here through the postal system, it's roughly a week or so into February. And that is why I could not put on page 52 what kind of, because I can tell you now, what has settled down is we have all the room taxes now in. I'll be able to tell you to do my necessary transfers, and then I'll know exactly the dollars to reference on page 52 to make them budget neutral.
Sounds like whoever chairs the room tax committee has dropped the ball. That's what I think.
That's for sure.
Well,
So
do you
on number 10, we should accept the financial.
audio? I've got audio.
So Fred, a quick question. Did you say that you will know that number for item 11 by next Tuesday?
Yeah,
Yes, I will.
Okay, thank you.
Fred's talking right now with about
So Jim, I can hear your conversation.
resolution 14/2020, I think.
He's talking business. I don't know who to though.
Yeah, I've got nothing. I'm not getting it at all. So maybe not everything isn't fixed yet.
Huh.
So you're is that what you're saying?
All right.
Yeah, there's audio.
Jim, is he trying to
Hey,
get
Jim,
in that?
I'm gonna ask you
Dan's
to put
talking
on
and
mute.
Diane's talking and
Jim, can you put on mute while you
Fred's
resolve?
talking. I had trouble
yes,
getting on
Amanda?
here.
My concern is Alder
But that
not
was my
trying to
fault.
get onto the
I
special
wasn't
council
getting-
meeting.
I
We
wasn't
won't
getting
be able to
into,
access that meeting until this meeting is
for-
wrapped up.
My utilities
Oh.
meeting, so I didn't get on until we started this meeting, so
Do we want
Yeah.
to relay a message
That's
to
my
Alder
fault.
not?
I'm not as familiar with this computer as I am with my work computer, so
Jim,
I don't use this.
Hey, Jim Olson,
Are you
Jim,
getting anything now?
Jim.
Jim Olson.
Yes, sir.
if Alder not is trying to get on this special council meeting, he cannot do that until this meeting is done.
Okay.
One at a time.
You hear that, Steve? Steve? No. Yeah, Steve, you can't get on until after this meeting. That's what Amanda just said.
And I'm
Okay.
guessing we're going to be on for at least till at least 8:30 with the size of our agenda. So,
I would invite Alder not, if he wants to listen in here, then he'll know exactly when we end.
yep, agreed.
Jim, you have to unmute.
Okay, so I think we were still working on resolution 14-2020.
No, we're on number 10.
I move to
Okay.
I move to accept the 2020 Omni Center financials as presented this evening and place them on file.
Second.
Motion by Wolf, seconded by Olson to approve the 2020 Omni Center financials. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Financials are approved. I see how I jumped ahead of myself here. So now we're on to resolution 14-2020 to transfer from the 2020 special revenue, special projects restricted fund balance to the enterprise fund for the Omni Center Fund.
Just for a point of information is this fund I'm referring to is back here a few years back. Oh, I don't know how far back, probably about 2013 or 2014, is there was roughly $1.5 million that the city took a position to remove it off the tourism books and slid it into a special projects fund. Since that period of time, the city of Onalaska has taken that figure down to approximately $850,000 now, whereas you may recall through the capital projects, through the Board of Public Works, there were many projects when Jim Benash was here that we were utilizing, doing many different things up at the Omni Center and using some of those funds. So you probably recall now that probably makes sense to you is through the capital projects where you see less other sources of funds. We were utilizing some of those room tax restricted dollars that we've taken from the tourism. And so because we're at about $800 and some thousand, we are utilizing some of those dollars to make the Omni Center to be as close as we can to budget neutral.
Right,
And
that
we've been
makes sense.
utilizing those dollars. In a normal situation, we would have enough money come and see when you take in room tax dollars, it goes into three different directions. It goes into the tourism budget books. Their ordinances allow some of it to go into the special projects fund. And the ordinance also allows some of it to go into the general fund. When it's a good period of time, other than COVID year, there's enough money coming in through room tax revenue to the special projects fund to send to Dan Wick approximately 70-some thousand a year, 76,000 a year and it was pretty much breaking even. Well, and so we'd never had to really tap into that 800 and some thousand, but we will be this year because, as you know, we didn't take in that much money through the room tax dollars when it was pretty much almost to a stopping position.
So Fred, as a follow-up, then this resolution 14-2020, wait a minute, 2020, oh, I'm sorry, never mind. Forget my question. Sorry. I'm off the agenda. Oh, no, I am right. No, I'm looking at the number here. So when I look at resolution item number 11, that's what we're on now, right? Number 11?
Yep.
Yes.
So the printed agenda says, I just want to make sure that I'm seeing straight. The printed agenda says resolution 14-2020, but the F11 in my packet says resolution 14-
Remember, we have an amended agenda.
Well, no, but I see what you're saying. The
No,
number 11
this is-
should read 14-2021.
Yeah, so on the printed, this has nothing to do with the amended agenda, Dan. So the printed agenda should say 2021, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, gotcha. I just thought I was blurry-eyed. So we're not taking any action on 14-2021 this evening because we'll take action on Tuesday.
That's correct.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, so we're referring this to the Common Council session next week. That moves us on to item 12, joint municipal court. Item A is the financials for 2020.
Okay, mainly this, the only reason for the next few discussion is just strictly to bring you update and so you know where the joint municipal court fell during the course of the year. I can tell you that if you look at the accounts receivable, which is on page 53, you will see that what we have going on here is the year of 2000 and we take off the books that we only keep 5 active years of accounts receivable. So the year of 2004 is being purged off and 2020 is being put on. So then you got your 5 years. And with the 5 years on there, you can see the accounts receivable for the city of Onalaska grew a little bit. It went from 495,000 to 523,000. overall, you can see a few of the town, cities, and villages that had gone down, but and when you look at the whole scheme of things, it didn't move a whole lot in reference to outstanding. It definitely didn't grow too much, but that's pretty much where it stands on accounts receivable on page 53. Then if you get to page 54, it pretty much shows where the revenue stood. We anticipated the revenues are slightly down because of obviously COVID. On page 55, kind of lays out exactly the history. If you look in the city of Onalaska, for example, on the top, you'll see we had 1,411 cases not dismissed in Onalaska for 2020 compared to 1,728 in 2019, 1970 in 2018, 1832 in 2017, and 2,150 in 2016. So you can see what the pandemic had done for the city of Onalaska, and I can tell you that somewhat slides through. We are the largest because we're 52%, and what I find interesting, you can see that percentage of city Onalaska pretty much stays in that area between 50 to 52% all the way down to or as much as 57 or 58% of the budget is the city of Onalaska's responsibility. That's on page 55. On page 56, it's again taking the receivables and just outlining of all those citations that you've seen that we just got done talking, for example, that $500 and some $1,000. If you pull the juveniles in the city of Onalaska, if you pulled off the roughly $28,542, which is right in the center of that page, that takes you in that area just slightly in that area of 495,000 of outstanding accounts receivable for outstanding debt. Now keep in mind, because we purged it off the books from 2004 back, the people are still going to be paying it. If they come forward, we will continue to collect if all possible. We just, from a book point of view, we just take it off the books.
Fred, do you mean to say 2014 or 2004?
2014.
Okay. The reason why I asked, you said 04 twice, and I just want to make sure that I was not confused.
2014 is off.
Perfect. Thank you for clarifying.
Fred, is there a reason why you would back out the juvenile fees?
Well, what had happened over the years, the reason I prepared that document on page 56 is there's a lot of discussion that there's a high probability, and I think this council has seen it over the past year and a half of citations issued to juveniles is fairly unlikely that you're going to collect a good chunk of any of that. And so what we wanted to see is by pulling off the juveniles of exactly how many outstanding citations, excluding them, that the city would really be looking at potentially collecting in one form.
Because I know at joint municipal court, Fred, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think past discussions last few years at least has been, they started pulling these out separately because the juvenile fines seem to skew the actualities of what we could expect to collect. So we need to kind of have a better idea what was actual, what we could expect.
And for those that have been here a while, you may remember some discussion happening at the council level of there used to be citations were issued, quite a few citations were issued while being a juvenile compared to the practice that is in the police department, or I should say in the school district now compared to where it used to be.
Well, especially for truancy, because that policy has kind of changed.
Yes.
Fred, I do have a question about on page 54, top of page 54, under revenue.
Yep.
Second item under revenue, second line, fines and forfeitures. So nothing was budgeted.
Well, see, the fines and forfeitures, that's kind of a misleading item because
Yeah.
what you have to do is you look at the fines and forfeitures and see, then look down below on the fines and forfeitures and the expenditures. You see, the intent of this fund is the fines and forfeiture dollars. I mean, a ticket has got many different pieces, but the piece that goes back to each town, city and village.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
It's a washout. And so,
Right.
and what happens that I purposely hold back, and what's supposed to be, what the goal was, is if you had enough money coming through court costs to subsidize this entire program. Well, the court cost is never enough money to make things be washed out as budget neutral. So what I've been doing is holding back the month of January and December. And by holding back January and December, it almost washes. And when I do, again, the share of who pays what is based on the number of cases not dismissed in your area. So what that item that you're seeing on page 55, that is the allocation of the joint municipal court budget based on your cases not dismissed.
Right. So it's really just a journal entry just to show that it coming in. Thank you. Yeah, I overlooked the bottom there, but yeah, I see that now. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Okay, and that's pretty much I wanted to mention in reference to items 12A through D. I do feel we should take item 12D as a motion to allow us to do and remove purge 2014 off the books.
Remind me again, Fred, how much are we purging? What's left over from 2014?
Well, what you're doing is you're asking me to purge the year of 2014 off the books, and the net result with 2020 coming on and 2014 off, it was a slight increase because there's more coming on than what was coming off. So it's just mainly to go on record to take the outstanding balances for 2014 off the books. And these documents I created here on page 56 represent 2014 already off.
Fred, do you want us to accept the financials?
Sure.
Item A?
Yep.
I move that we accept the joint municipal court financials for 2020 as presented this evening.
Second.
Motion by Wolf, seconded by Olson to approve the joint municipal court financials. Is there any other discussion? I actually have a question for Fred. So with the purging of the 2014, if I'm understanding correctly, we're essentially removing that from the balance sheet. So we're saying that's not receivables that we're recognizing. Does that mean that we still cannot collect that, or
no,
we get recovery dollars later?
We will continue to collect.
Okay.
We're just purging it to
Okay.
have a more realistic accounts receivable, but I can guarantee you that if they're at the state debt collection, we will continue to pursue them. They will still continue to come into the books. We just want to,
So
otherwise,
the charge off for the balance sheet is what
Right.
it is.
Yep,
Okay, that
that's
makes
all we're
sense.
doing.
All right, any other questions? All those in favor of the motion to approve the financials for joint municipal court? And this, Diane, was your motion, was it just the financials, or
Yes,
or is
just
this items
financials.
A through D?
It was just 12A.
Okay, so this is a motion to approve the financials for joint municipal court 2020. I think we had a motion by Wolf, seconded by Olson. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Financials are accepted.
And if we could do 12D.
I move that we purge the 2014 outstanding balance for the city of Onalaska.
Second.
Motion by Wolf, seconded by Olson to purge the 2014 outstanding balance for the city of Onalaska. I think we've kind of had discussion on this, but does anybody have anything to add? Nope. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 2014 balances is purged. Item 13, Gunderson Health System parking ramp, the fourth quarter and annual for 2020. Mr. Bueller.
And your on page 57 is the recap for the Gunnison Lutheran parking ramp. As you may or may not remember, that all of the parking ramp is financed and taken care of by Gunderson Lutheran. Our role in this is the City of Onalaska transfers 1,000, I think it's 1,250 per quarter or 5,000 a year to as part of our bond documents to assist in the parking ramp structure.
Motion to approve, motion to accept the fourth quarter and annual financials for 2020 for the Gunderson Health Systems parking ramp.
Second.
Motion by Wolf, seconded by Olson to approve the Gunderson Health Systems parking ramp fourth quarter report and annual report for 2020. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That concludes the portion for finance. We will now move on to personnel. And is this Amy going to take care of this, or Amanda?
Yeah, I can talk about this.
All right, so we're going to be on item 14, review and approve of a flexible benefits plan carryover increase and indexing amendment and adopting resolution 9-2021.
So basically what happened was earlier this year, the IRS updated their guidelines as it relates to cost of living adjustments for how much can be carried over for flex spending. And so previously, you were only allowed to carry over $500 each year. They did adjust that essentially based on a cost of living adjustment to allow individuals to carry over $550 each year moving forward. And so in order for us to accept that change, we do have to do a small plan amendment to acknowledge it.
All right, committee.
Dan?
What do you say? Eric.
Eric wants
City
to talk.
Administrator.
Couldn't get through this whole meeting without me talking at least once. Just to add to what Amanda was saying, for the employees' purposes, the IRS regulations took place and it's automatic. But because there was specific language in our plan documents that capped it off, they don't reference whatever the current rate is. They reference $500 exactly. So we do need to amend this, even though for the IRS purposes it's automatic. Our plan is not. So we need to amend our plan by passing the resolution.
It gets even further complicated because our item 16 is just going to nullify this for this year, but to simplify it, that's essentially what it is.
Yes.
So I will move to approve resolution 9-2021 as presented.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion by Wolf, seconded by Olson to approve resolution 9-2021 per the agenda. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Resolution 9-2021 is approved. Item 15, review and approval of the changes to the following job descriptions. Item A, the APAR, or Accounts Payable, Accounts Receivable Purchasing Clerk. Fred, Eric, or Amanda, or Amy, I'm not sure who I'm pointing to here.
So I did provide a memo that kind of summarizes the changes that was included in your F&P packet. In the interest of time, you know, this ended up being that we had an opportunity to incorporate payroll into finance and move that down, which I think will help us in recruiting a new HR manager. And so it made sense to do this. And we do actually have somebody in line and starting for this position, and they are aware of this change. And so if you have any specific questions regarding the job descriptions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Alder Wolf.
Thank you, Your Honor. So I have a few questions, so whoever would like to answer them, it's just a few. So I've compared the two the proposed versus the existing. And so I'm just going to briefly review what I have found are the differences. And if I'm incorrect, please let me know. And if I missed anything, let me know. So the proposed AP/AR purchasing clerk, the classification is moving from hourly non-exempt to exempt. I find that the first page, I believe, word for word, it was identical. And then the second page, which is our now page 63, items S and T are brand new. Under training experience and other requirements look to be identical. And then physical requirements was the same and the table was the same. I think under the training, I think they pulled a number of those things, maybe from other parts of the previous or the current job description. So at least that's what I found.
Yeah, essentially it's just that S&T to add in the payroll duties. And then we did clean up the last one as far as supervising and evaluating staff, just to make it a little cleaner, since now they would be supervising payroll staff as well.
And it is moving from hourly non-exempt to an exempt position.
Correct.
Which means it'll be salary, correct? Okay. And then, and I realize what was current was grade 15 and now it's grade 7, but we're in a new grading system. Do we have a range of salary for this?
I can get you that in one second.
Just kind of, so I have an idea what we're talking.
Or how does it compare, I guess is.
Yeah, and I guess that's the big thing for me is it changing? Because I certainly recognize that we are adding S&T, which I'm assuming is going to elevate the position to a higher grade and or salary. So I just want to kind of get that in for the record, and so I understand that also. Thank you.
So as far as the grades go, it did move up one grade with the addition of supervising payroll from what I think it was originally looked at to be so it is a grade 7, which starts at $54,058.07 and goes up to $70,905.32.
Okay, great, thank you. That's the only questions that I had.
Any other questions or commentary? Right. Do we want to talk about paralegal, or do we want to approve each?
I move that we approve the AP/AR purchasing clerk job description per our packet, the proposed job description this evening.
Second.
Motion by Wolf, seconded by Olson to approve the accounts payable, accounts receivable purchasing clerk position. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 That's approved. I was kind of hoping we could do an omnibus approval, but, item B, paralegal administrative assistant.
So the primary change in this job description is that it is moving from a part-time position to a full-time position. It is a non-exempt position, and it was a non-exempt position before, so that did not change. Due to budget constraints, in order to fund the position, we are looking at not fulfilling the marketing position in 2021. And so we did move kind of the fundamental component of that job into the paralegal job description. So the coordination and distribution of marketing materials, community outreach in the form of newsletters, electronic, social, and print media. We did also just do a little general cleanup of the job description in talks with our interim HR director. We had very redundant job descriptions and we're frequently saying the same thing multiple times. And so she encouraged that we do some cleanup of that. And so we did remove a lot of redundancy in that. And so if it looks a little bit shorter, that's why. We also, based on the part-time applicants I was receiving, I was not having people that had any relevant skill sets applying for the position. And so we cleaned up the job requirements to try to make it much clearer as to what was required as far as a degree and experience.
How much of the, I assume you would be the direct supervisor, Amanda, of this position?
Yes.
How much of the position would you foresee being the paralegal aspect, and how much would be the marketing and social media outreach?
I think it's really hard to gauge that because the marketing and community outreach would have been a new position. And so I don't really have a baseline.
Was the marketing, was that going to be a half-time position? Okay.
It should be clear. I mean, we're hoping to gain some of the similar skills, can do some of the tasks that we're listing, but this is in order to fund a full-time paralegal position. I would not anticipate this being a substantially a marketing position at this point in time. A lot of those duties would then fall on my shoulders or Amanda's shoulders, the actual like creation of any materials that we may be able to do. That's why we're focusing on sort of the compilation and maybe just be able to hit send on social media or something on this position, administrative assistant. But no, not to bury that. I mean, there'll be some here, but this is to provide Amanda the support she needs to have a paralegal. And if we can make a look at a full-time position down the road, I'll intend to bring it back again in a full-time position for marketing. But you know.
And I'll just go on record and say that I've already talked with Amanda and Eric about this. But I just want to say that as someone who was who has brought forth the community outreach / marketing position and has been very supportive of that, because I think the size of our municipality, I think we're way behind the times of not having someone in that type of position marketing the city of Onalaska. My number one concern, and I'm just speaking for myself here, is that we recruit a quality person for primarily the paralegal administrative assistant, really the paralegal position. It's been sorely lacking. I think that position has been needed. If, as much as I want the marketing to go forward, I certainly would not have an issue if some of that may lag in a timeliness manner. I think, as always, it's always about priorities, but I think even more so this year, it's really about priorities, and that's what I'm going to keep stressing. So I wish you well, but I won't give up on the community position, but I think it's a matter of priorities. So I'm looking forward to getting someone in that spot who will do a really good job for Amanda and for the administrative suite. Thank you.
I noticed on the job description that on part-time that the paralegal certificate was kind of encouraged, but maybe not required. If this goes full-time, is that going to be a requirement or?
It's not required. So if you read that, it is an associate's degree in an ABA approved paralegal legal assistant program or a paralegal certificate. So a paralegal certificate can be obtained without having an associate's degree, provided that you have a certain number of years of experience. And so the idea would be, we didn't want to limit it to one or the other, because you could have a paralegal certificate without having a degree, or you could have a paralegal degree without having the certificate. So we would accept either.
But they should know how to be a paralegal.
Yes.
Okay. Well, committee, what do we want to do?
I move that we approve the paralegal / administrative assistant position as presented this evening.
Second.
Motion by Wolf, seconded by Olson to approve the paralegal administrative assistant position. Any other discussion? Wolf?
One quick follow-up. Just wanted to know, since one is going from half to full and the other one is not going to be filled at this time, are we looking at being approximate budget neutral with them? Pretty close?
The city
Right on,
administrator
or-
shakes his head yes.
Oh, okay, thank you.
I'm saying yes, that there may be a slight increase due to benefits depending on who gets hired that way, but we anticipate being able to fit that in our budget.
Thank you.
All right, let's vote. All those in favor of the paralegal administrative assistant position, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Well, that passes unanimously. Item C, human resources manager. This is a big one, and it's a manager, not a director, I'm noticing.
So this
Amanda.
position, so this position was completely rewritten. And so we worked with our interim HR individual, and she had put forth kind of a continuum of human resource positions for us and kind of walked us through those. And then going back to kind of what I mentioned before, some concerns that our job descriptions are getting too detailed to the point that they're almost an exhaustive list of job duties when really we want to just focus on kind of the core functions of the job. And so we had her rewrite this job description to kind of be in line with what she felt was appropriate. And so it's much shorter, as you can see, compared to our traditional job description. But I think if you really compare the two, it captures kind of the spirit of the position and what the main functions that we would expect out of an HR manager would be. You know, as far as manager versus director, I don't know that necessarily, and I'll let Eric speak to this, has a change in the actual core functions. You know, they're pretty much the same. And it's in line with kind of, you know, what the prior job duties were minus the payroll component.
Mr. City Administrator, Eric.
To concur with what Amanda was just saying, the continuum of sort of job duties, responsibilities, and a career path, the kind of experience that we'd be looking at, the size of the organization that we are, and the type of tasks that would be asking somebody with the kind of experience to go hand in hand, really kind of was dictated by a title, HR manager versus an HR director, which would be a larger organization perhaps. That in combination with, which we requested and at least the committee has now approved, moving the payroll duties to finance department, if you will, to supervise that. It really kind of dictated that, but it's not intended to be a massive change organizationally or what have you. I anticipate this is still a department head and it would still be, you know, the position would still be coming to huddle. I know that's a question of concern, making sure that we get the input of HR to all the staff that way. But again, letting the HR professional kind of dictate to what the position and title should be was something that Amanda and I relied on.
Any other questions?
A quick
Roll.
question. So I think the main thing that I see, not that it's the main thing, the one thing I noticed is that what was the current job description, the existing was there was 3 years, 3 or more years experience in human resources. And now we're looking for a minimum of 5 years, which I certainly support. And can we talk about grade also and the difference in wages for this?
I don't know if you saw the chart up or not, but the grade and rescoring is actually a grade lower with the removal of the payroll duties.
So one grade.
One grade lower from
Okay.
where it was before.
So it's a
Great, thank
grade
you.
13, and that pay scale would be $76,682.41 up to $100,580.56.
That's where it's at now?
Yep. That's what we're proposing on tonight's job description.
Gotcha, thank you.
All right, what say you, committee?
Second.
Is there a motion?
And I'll move that we approve the human resources manager.
That's how I'm trying to move things along.
We're just going backwards.
I knew it too, Jim.
I was trying to jump in. So I'll make a motion that we approve the human resources manager position as presented this evening.
Motion by Wolf and a preemptive second by Jim Olson to approve the human resources manager. Any other commentary? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Human Resource Manager is approved. Item 16, review and approval of Flexible Benefits Plan Coordinate Consolidated Appropriations Act, or CAA, amendment and adopting Resolution 15-2021. I think, Amanda, you alluded to this earlier.
Yes. So after the IRS updated its cost of living adjustment, then at the very end of the year, December 29th, Congress passed the latest COVID relief bill, which wiped out any limitations on carrying over for the 2020-2021 year, as well as the 2021 to 2022 years. So there are no limitations currently for this coming year on carrying over for flex spending for health savings accounts or dependent care accounts. It also increases the limit for the age of the child on a dependent care account up to age 13. Initially, when they sent this out, they indicated they could make this change automatically. We found out very last minute that they could not, and we would need a plan amendment for this as well. As Eric alluded, you know, the IRS made the change. Our plan says we have to formally adopt the change since it's contrary to what our plan says. And so this accomplishes that essentially.
All righty then.
Motion to approve Resolution 15-2021 as presented.
Second.
Motion by Wolf, seconded by Olson to approve resolution, adopt and approve resolution 15-2021. Amanda explained that nicely. Is there any other questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. It passes. Let's go to item 17.
Motion to adjourn at 8:42.
Motion by Wolf, seconded by Olson to adjourn at 8:52.
42.
42?
Yep.
8:42, correction. Under discussion, actually, I would ask the mayor, we have another meeting coming up right away. When do you want that to start? Give 5 minutes or so, or do it immediately?
I think that we should plan on, I have 8:43. Let's just plan on 8:45. If we need to pause a minute to wait for people to come in, they can, but it's already getting pretty late.
Okay, so we'll basically log off and then log back on. So, all right, any other discussion for adjournment? Hearing none, all those in favor of adjourning, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We stand adjourned.